We're all trying to find the guy who did this.
Starting in 5, 4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for November 30th, 2023. What the hell? For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Netflix is getting Grand Theft Auto and Bungie is still messing up microtransactions. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa, everybody. Jan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Here's where I feel old, Grubb.
Yeah.
Dropped off my partner. She's a high school teacher. And I see these young high schoolers now scooting to school on their electric scooters.
Oh, on electric scooters. Okay.
Yes. And, I'm pretty sure the top speed of even like the cheapest electric scooter is probably maybe 10 or 5 to 10 miles per hour.
Yeah,
right?
I bet they get up to like 12 to 15 even.
Right. And then I'm thinking the real top of the line guys go maybe up to like 20.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe. Yo, parents, put a fucking helmet on your child, all right?
They're going to die. Yeah, for real.
Hey, this may make me seem like a boomer, but fucking put a helmet on your child, all right?
Yeah, that's rough stuff. Yeah. I would, because like it is also during like morning commute time when tired people are driving and trying to get to work and are probably late. Like, yeah, you want to have helmets on because that's really super dangerous. I feel the same way when I see that stuff. Backlash said he just kind of got on the hoverboard tip,
yeah,
the first time, and I was like thinking like, are my girl like is my 6-year-old who's going to be 7? Is she old enough for one of those? And I think she's probably just getting there because but also like they're going to ride it in the house mostly, and I don't know if I need that. Because I'm like, hey, go take that outside, and they're like, no, I'm good. Okay, come on, what the hell?
Especially because it's winter coming up. But then, Grubb, you got to think about stairs.
Yep. There's a lot. Yeah, we have that. And yeah, you're right. And it's because those things go, especially in like an indoor environment. So I'm like, I could just see them like just go hitting the corner really fast and then suddenly just shooting down the steps. Yeah. Don't want that. Helmets for that.
Don't want that. Helmets Absolutely. For that.
Yeah. How are you feeling about tomorrow being December?
You shut the front door, Grubb. No, it's not.
Tomorrow.
No, it's not.
It's tomorrow.
What categories am I prepared to talk about? What categories are we talking about tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna spend some time with that. I got plenty of time. Oh my god, it's literally tomorrow. So yeah, we got a game of the year starting tomorrow, everybody.
For the third one.
Yeah, wait, what is that? Tell me. Just we can't. We haven't said what we're doing publicly yet. Okay, never mind. All right, I'll have to just look it up. Shit. Oh boy,
it's gonna be great though.
It's gonna be fun. Absolutely. Honestly. Overall, I feel pretty good about this year, about keeping up for the most part. I didn't beat Baldur's Gate 3, but I wouldn't even be playing Baldur's Gate 3 still if it wasn't for Game of the Year stuff. And then, the other one, Alan Wake 2, I will try to get out. Like, I'm going to try to play a bunch more of that and have that beaten by the time we're like doing our finale and stuff. But other than that, I've kept up with all the big games. I
trust Mike, Lucy, and Tam enough, and I know that they've played more Baldur's Gate than I ever will this year. I trust them, and like I've tried Pikmin, and I'm going to continue playing Pikmin, but I defer to your opinion and Dan's and Mike's on this as well. And you know what? Backlar and I got the Alan Wake front. I think Lucy as well, and Tam.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, Alan Wake 2 seems like the one that might have like the timing going for it and everything. I mean, I think Dan's going to have it ranked relatively high, so I think that's the one that has the strongest chance of really doing something here at the end of the year.
Grubb, can I tell you my fantasy booking for our own game of the year?
Please, I want to hear it.
Okay, all right. I think Baldur's Gate 3 and Alan Wake 2 are going to split the vote in such a dramatic way.
I really do think that's going to happen too.
That either Pikmin 4 or Tears of the Kingdom will wind up at 1 or 2.
Right. I think Pikmin 4 could do something similar with Zelda if like we like try to be like, okay, we're going to actually make a real move for Pikmin 4. And so we're all going to move it up and move Zelda around. But I think enough people will have Zelda high enough that it still has a real shot of getting it. So yes, and I agree with you. I've been thinking the same thing, that Baldur's Gate 3 and Alan Wake are going to split the vote a little bit. But it's like things still get points, like if they're like one below that. So really, I think it's like the game that's on most people's lists is probably going to have the biggest chance.
Here's the other cog in the wheel here, Grubb, is that we have yet to decide whether or not we are going to allow Turbo Sean, Nikki, and Bailey to throw in votes into the Eurovision machine.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is something that as we're having the conversation, getting down to the from the 50 and then down to the 20, if we see that we're all like at loggerheads about some of these things, we're like, okay, we got to throw in a wild card here to make sure that things can keep us on our toes. I think that's an entire possibility that we need to. It needs to be a wild card that we can play if needed, I think.
Yeah. It's I you know what? The more that we're talking about it now, I'm getting excited about it, which is completely undoing any of the nervousness.
Exactly.
So let's fucking go.
Let's get into it. Yep, I'm looking forward to it. I'll play more games tonight, and then be ready for tomorrow. Looking forward to it. And that's what time is that tomorrow? We starting that at
9 a.m.
Right. No Game S mornings.
Yes. No Game S tomorrow. So we're starting when we normally start the Bombcast.
Right.
So no Bombcast for Vengeance, no UPF tomorrow. Game of the year. We're going until the wheels fall off for day one.
Yep. It's going to be a beefy one. So buckle in, everybody, and hang out with us. We're going to have a lot of topics tomorrow. A lot of categories, I mean. All right. Let's explain what we do here in the meantime. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Bungie pulls Destiny 2 starter pack following massive fan backlash. This is from Ben Lyons at Game Reactor. Just a couple of days ago, Bungie kicked off the latest and final season of Destiny 2 with this known as Season of the Wish. At this time, the developer also launched the Witcher collaboration, which drew criticism for its price, released a bunch of new playable content, which has seemingly not landed with fans all too well yet, and debuted a starter pack for new players that got absolutely blasted by fans pretty much as soon as it was announced due to its poor offerings. Now Bungie has taken to Twitter to address various criticisms and to announce that the starter pack has been pulled from sale. Bungie notes that the pack is not something bringing joy, which is why it has been removed from the stores. The developer adds that there are other parts of Destiny 2 that new players should want to dive into before chasing these exotic weapons, cosmetics, and upgrade materials. To add to this, Bungie registers that taking fans to the blind well hasn't exactly landed as it hoped, and that players will only be asked to return to the activity once more in the season in week 6. That's in the weeds for Destiny fans, and I'm sure they're all caring about that. But basically what happened here, Jan, is they put out this starter pack, and it's like kind of like really slim pickings, and I think it was upwards of $20 for this thing, and fans kind of like lost their minds, and I think it's mostly people who would never buy this, but I think they were like imagining someone coming into Destiny, seeing this thing called a starter pack and feeling the need to buy it, and then realizing much later that what they were getting there would have been, I think a lot of people described it as if you just logged into any other like MMO or online service game, you would just get these things for free. Like they would just be login bonuses. And so, and Bungie's like, well, we're going to charge $20 for this. I think the story here, Janet, continues to be running a live service game and figuring out how to make money in the long term and to price things fairly while also being able to extract value from having a game that is a live service. Still difficult, even for the studio that has the most information about how to run one of these, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I can see those veteran players being worried about what this could potentially forecast further down the line. If this is how they're trying to attract new players and entice new players to be like, hey, if you want to hit the ground running, go get this starter pack. What are they going to try and sell or try and fleece veteran players of Destiny 2 during like this whole process? I also imagine part of this is probably in reaction to the recent layoffs as well, of like, hey, you laid off all those people, you blame the players, and now you're going to continue to make boneheaded decisions like this specifically. it wouldn't fill me with any type of confidence if I was a diehard Destiny 2 player.
Yeah, and that seems to be some of the sentiment here for sure. I think they're like, oh, man, do you guys still not have this stuff figured out? Is it really that desperate over there? I think this is how it goes, though. These companies try stuff, and in terms of microtransactions, and then the fans are very vocal, and they find out, hey, we can't. Well, the studio finds out we can't get away with this. We're going to pull it back and try something different. And we've seen this not just from Bungie, although they've done it a lot now. But we see this from like Respawn with Apex Legends. They've had multiple instances there where people are like, we do not like the way that these skins are priced, and we're going to be mad about it until you do something, forcing Respawn to eventually have to do something. And it's like, then they reintroduce stuff, and it's not that much better, but it's a little bit better, and then things quiet down. So at a certain point, this almost feels like an opening in a negotiation where they're like, hey, we're going to throw something out there and we'll see what the reaction's like. And if we can get away with it, we'll just leave it. And if we don't, well, we're prepared to scale things back and try again. And I think it speaks to like really what you have to be with a live service game like this is you have to be nimble and you got to recognize that it's an ongoing relationship and you're going to get in fights with your partner, and the partner being the game players, right?
Yeah. It is a delicate dance. Yeah. That I thought Bungie would be better equipped to handle, given that they're like very dominant in this space. And Destiny 2 has been out for how long now?
A long time. Yeah. I mean, I know that we're getting like to the 10-year period since Destiny 1. I don't know how long Destiny 2 has been out.
I don't even know at this point if hitting the reset button and framing something as Destiny 3 will entice enough people, given how much of a bad taste is currently in people's mouths.
And it's so, it's so far off. Even if it were to happen, it's like a whole other world that we would be in by the time we got to a Destiny 3 at this point.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Bungie, Grubb. I feel like they were hovering on like the medium to okay side of news stories for the longest time. And then this past year and some change, just not doing hot.
Yeah, I think it's easy to be like, well, Sony owns them now, so this is all Sony's fault. I think this is more indicative of things were probably heading in this direction where they were feeling a little bit desperate in a corner and worried about player retention, and Sony just happened to purchase them because they were at a point where the Bungie's like, we should just sell now while we're at a high point compared to where we're probably going to be in a couple years.
Now, do you think there's at all a possibility? And I fully believe that you're right, Grubb, that Bungie kind of was headed in this direction already, and then the timing just happened to work out of getting acquired by Sony. Do you think they were waiting for something big, like an acquisition like this, to kind of take the heat off of themselves? And like player bases or the general public would be like, well, I guess it's Sony's fault.
I mean, I think that's built into the deal a little bit. Yeah, I think that's part of it. Mostly, though, they're like, hey, we have... sent off our final responsibility, the final say, the people actually at the end of the day responsible for ensuring that Bungie is a strong business is no longer us. And so when we get into a corner, it's like we are going to have to be like, okay, hey, people at Sony, what do you want us to do? And I think that is a better place to be in than being like, okay, the buck fully stops with us, and now we have to make tough decisions or leverage the company against itself and begin or sell off to some venture capitalist firm as things start to spiral out of control. And it's like these things were years and years away from happening, and obviously Bungie would have had a lot of other suitors that would have been interested, but they could probably see themselves heading in that direction if they can't pull themselves out of this, not nosedive, but definitely decline. And this is where, like, we talk about like stories like this a lot, and every developer and every publisher seems to be in this situation where it's like they've had a track record of success. They see ways to continue that success. They see ways to grow that success. But now making games is such a long and laborious and expensive process that by the time they get there, things could have shifted so much from underneath them that the ideas they had that were once good no longer feel good. And we definitely saw that with a lot of live service games. Or it's, people just won't care about the games themselves. And it's like, that's scary. And it feels like, everything that we're doing is a risk now. And I think that's where these companies are like, yes, it's time to sell. It's time to exit. And with this unknown period of what gaming is going to be like for the next couple of years. That's what we don't want to be the ones responsible for figuring that out. And I don't blame them, because if I have no answers either, right? I mean, I have no idea what these companies should be doing other than, I guess keep making Destiny 2 the way it is. And then I mean, my idea would be like, do the thing that Overwatch 2 did and just call something Destiny 3 and update Destiny 2. That doesn't seem like it's a good idea, but that's the best I got. So I don't blame them.
I don't know. Add anime ladies and dudes to it.
Okay, that's a pretty good idea, though.
Yeah. It is wild, Grubb, seeing games, IPs, companies, developers, publishers that I thought for the longest time were too big to fail. Not necessarily failing, but tripping over themselves constantly.
Yep. And so when Sony purchased Bungie, and the idea was Bungie's going to bring in all of this learnings, as a executive would call it, all these lessons that they've taken away from building live service games for years and years now. I think really it's going to be a lot of Bungie going into these studios and explaining why things won't work, and probably not having a lot of answers to be like, well, how do we make this idea work for this game? Because I think the answer seems to be, based on what we see developers do over and over again, the answer seems to be, you're going to have to do it the hard way and just try stuff until people stop yelling at you. And that seems like really risky for these companies to take on. And I think that's why Sony is suddenly like, oh boy, don't know about all these live service games. And Sony's not alone in that. Every company's sort of feeling that way.
What if Marathon is just Destiny, but like stylized and not in space?
Yeah, I mean, they did say it's an extraction shooter, right? So what if it's like, just basically Destiny, but with...
We've extracted Destiny from Destiny.
There it is. Beautiful. Yeah. Have you ever played any of the extraction shooters? You ever try like the Warzone extraction game that I can't ever remember the name of? Or Tarkov? You ever get into Tarkov?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Me
Too much pressure.
Yeah.
But I'll play it if you want to play it, Grubb.
All right. Well, DMZ is the one. I think we should probably like figure out what is the most friendliest one to try out, so we can get a good idea of it and try it out. I don't know. We'll see at some point.
Huh.
Okay. Dan Houser's Absurd Ventures has 2 new IPs on the way. This comes from Smagaliso Similane at Destructoid. Dan Houser left an unerasable mark on gaming through his work at Rockstar, though he has since moved on to new projects. This includes 2 new IPs his entertainment company is working on. You shouldn't expect traditional gaming experiences from Absurd Ventures. The first IP, American Caper, focuses on 2 families facing a world of corrupt business, inept politics, and bungling crime. This will explore this universe through a graphic novel illustrated by comic book artist Simon Bisley. The first story arrives in 2024. A Better Paradise is the second IP. It's an existential suspense thriller being made with the help of Q Code Media. Interestingly, it'll take the form of a 12-episode audio fiction series. It also arrives in 2024. Houser is a co-founder of Rockstar and has served as a writer on the Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption franchise. Is this what you were expecting from Dan Houser when he started up his new thing?
No, not at all. I don't want to say that they're very generic names, but they're kind of generic names, Grubb.
Yeah, they definitely are. I mean, I guess he's probably coming at it from like Grand Theft Auto is a pretty generic thing too, but I don't know, American Caper maybe is even more so than that.
American Caper feels like a knockoff title trying to ape Grand Theft Auto.
Have you seen the logo for it?
Yes.
It looks like 1970s American or Captain America a little bit.
It does. And when I didn't read know the part of Simon Bisley being involved in this, and it's interesting having 2 different types of media.
For people who don't know, which includes me, Simon Bisley's responsible for Lobo, people are saying in chat.
Yes, Lobo.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I always enjoyed that
Lobo
art.
Guy.
He's a Lobo guy. Okay. I enjoyed that art from a distance previously.
He also, I think he did the Halo graphic novel as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. If you're familiar with the Lobo art, it's like really muscly dudes.
Right.
Just really muscly dudes. American Caper does look like one of the Captain America title treatments. I don't know. It could be fun. I just didn't expect this from Dan Houser. Yes, Dan Houser.
Dan Houser, yes.
Wanting to say Dan Housen.
I know me. I always do. I always feel like I am saying it even when I'm saying Dan Houser. Dan Houser. Yeah, this is. I mean, I think it's interesting. I guess it's probably the kind of thing where, hey, if you are coming at it from a storytelling perspective and you want to build up these media properties, and you can always make a game later, I guess. I mean, none of this says anything about video games, so maybe none of these things will actually interact with games at all in any way, and or he's like testing the waters for these ideas to see if there's an interest in them. And then we'll follow up on them later if this makes sense. And I guess that is an interesting way of doing things. I just don't know if it's the kind of thing. It's definitely not the thing I was expecting, for sure.
Yeah, maybe Dan Houser's trying to create the universe or create the story, attachment to the story first, so then people eventually want to play as these characters that he's introducing. Or maybe he's playing 4D chess, Grubb. Maybe the stories are so complicated within American Caper and a better paradise that you got to lay the foundation.
Yeah, I suppose it's also like likely that he's aware of just how thirsty Hollywood is for IP.
Oh yeah,
and he's like, we could make an audio podcast series for something, and then I bet we will be able to license that to Hollywood for a film, and then that money will pay for us as we decide to like shift into making a game, and we could synergize that stuff. That seems like let's put this up on the whiteboard. What does our strategy look like? I bet that's what he's thinking. I don't know. Do you think that's something that can be pulled off here?
I think so. And Dan Houser is definitely one of those names that have been floated around of like, why don't you make the jump to Hollywood or try and make the jump to the silver screen or whatever? And as far as I know, he hasn't been involved with anything like that.
I don't think so. No.
This could be him testing the waters for that completely, or just wanting to do the whole process himself of just having the whole transmedia approach and just doing it all within house and just waiting for it to pick up enough steam.
Do you think this would work if Alexandra Daddario was involved in all these things?
Oh, 500%.
I'm right there with you. Right there with you.
Yeah, first season of White Lotus.
First season of True Detective.
Yeah. First round of movies of Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief.
Of course, yes. I can't remember the first thing I saw her in. I'm trying to remember now, but she was one of the actors in. We did the box office game before we started, everybody. So if you're confused about why we're talking about Alexandra Daddario, that's the only reason.
She's the new best friend of Giant Bomb.
She is.
People don't know this.
I'm going to get her to write a guest list, top 10 this year. It'll be great. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We got a lot more news, though, and we'll get to all of that right after this.
Her eyes scare me.
Yeah, they're intense. We're back. We're ready to talk about more news over here on Game Mess Mornings on Giant Bomb. I'm Jeff Grubb. That's Shanna Choa. Let's get back into it.
Hello.
Resident Evil 4 Remakes of VR mode has been given a December release date. This comes from Chris Scullion at VGC. Capcom has announced the release date for the Resident Evil 4 Remakes VR mode. The new mode, which will be released exclusively for PlayStation VR 2, will be available on December 8th. The mode will be available as a free DLC update for the game, and a demo version will be released on the same day. Although not yet confirmed, it's likely that the VR update will let players play through the entirety of Resident Evil 4 Remake in virtual reality. It's weird they haven't confirmed that yet. Exactly what's possible in that. But either way, I mean, I don't know if you probably still don't have a PlayStation VR 2. Dan got ours. I don't have one. But are you curious about this at all?
Yes, actually. After checking out the MetaQuest 3 and really enjoying it.
Really enjoying mine too.
I was curious as to like a full, I don't want to say a full-fledged VR device. That's what the MetaQuest 3 is one.
Yep.
But like one geared for the console experience, like the PSVR 2. And I do remember when Tam and I checked it out, like sometime last year, it being very comfortable and being very tactile with the controllers and everything. Especially with Resident Evil 4, I remember a lot of folks very being in love and in fear of RE7, and being mixed on Resident Evil Village, but RE4 I feel like would strike the balance of being disgusting and gross, but also very well suited to VR, especially because this came out on the Wii, Grubb.
Yes, it did. Yeah, so they already know how to do the motion tracking controls in that for sure. Yeah, I'm there with you. Resident Evil 7 was gonna always be too scary for me to try it, even though I know a lot of VR purists and VR enthusiasts swear by that. They're like, that is an incredible experience, and I believe them. I just would never have the guts to be able to do that myself. And then Resident Evil 8, by then I was like, yeah, I'm good. But I've kind of come back around, and a big part of it is messing around with the Quest 3 and really enjoying that. And mostly that's being impressed by the pass through. But whatever, I'm also like looking for more VR games on there to play because of that excitement. But I'm not so excited by VR that I'm going to go out and spend another couple $100 on a VR2 just to play this. I would need the promise of more. And I think we had a ton of conversations at the time of PlayStation VR 2 launching where we're like, hey, we're going to need to see what the support looks like. And I think it was like, it kind of came in right in our lower expectations of there's not going to be a ton to convince you to get a VR 2 beyond what they launched with. And that seems to have been the case with the exception of this now. And do you think that changes the calculus at all?
I don't think that changes the calculus at all, especially knowing that I have to be hardwired into the console. And after trying a device like the Meta Quest 3, where it is just a wearable and it does the tracking all on the device, I think I would be interested in like maybe a better graphical fidelity. But shelling out, how much is this now, Grubb? $550?
I think it's still $550, yeah.
$550 to play Resident Evil 4? It still isn't enough of like a killer app for me to want to jump in. I'm still on the camp that they should put out Half-Life Alyx on this bitch. And then that would greatly entice me. I know when we did that stream where we checked out the PSVR 2 with Dan, there were a couple of neat things.
There were.
That's what it was, Grubb. Just neat things.
Neat things, yeah. I mean, I think overall that's where VR still is, with the exception of Alyx. And for me, that's mostly pretty fun. That's pretty cool because there's also like a lot of cool stuff happening in like the homebrew and the modding scenes that makes VR interesting, at least on PC, which is why I'm not really considering PSVR 2 all that much. Although the person that got PSVR working on PC says he's pretty close to getting PSVR 2 working on PC, even though one time he was the person that said this would be impossible. It sounds like you're going to need to buy like a dongle, like a specialized dongle to make it connect to a PC. But regardless, again, that would be pretty cool. That's still not gonna. I mean, I have the Valve Index. I'm really happy with that. I still haven't played Alyx. I'm like, I'm like, I keep considering like maybe it's time to do that. We're talking about doing some stuff with the Quest 3s and maybe playing like table tennis and things like that. I'm like, I want to be doing things in VR. I do think that it's still interesting tech, and those small neat things like table tennis really get me. I really enjoy that sort of thing. But I am not going around thinking, boy, I hope they give me a reason to want to buy a VR 2. I am not thinking about PlayStation VR 2 99% of the time until we get stories like this.
Yeah. Every time we do read a story about PSVR 2, I also think, besides bringing up Half-Life Alyx constantly, of, yo, where's the next Astrobot?
Yep.
Bring out that little hooligan.
Bring that little bastard out. Stop hiding him away. We need him.
Yeah.
We need him back.
Take him out of that PS1 he fell into. Come on.
That's right. We need him now more than ever, that's how I would put it. Netflix is bringing Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy, to mobile devices next month. This is from Jason Finelli at GameSpot. Shout out to Jason. The ever-growing Netflix mobile game catalog will receive a major addition next month, as the company has announced a deal with Rockstar Games to bring the Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy, definitive edition to Netflix apps on December 14th. The move will see all 3 PlayStation 2 era GTA titles ported to mobile devices exclusively to Netflix members. The games will be available to download through the Netflix app, which will then forward users to either the iOS App Store or the Google Play Store for download. That's how it works on Netflix, everybody. Okay, couple questions. One, do you think this moves the needle for Netflix? Because this is a pretty big brand name. But, the Grand Theft Auto mobile games have been available for years and years and years. Maybe not these updates. I guess that's what this is saying, is that these updates weren't actually released on iOS or Android, and now you can get them exclusively through Netflix. But do you think that is like a big get for Netflix?
Yeah. I think sometimes we underestimate the power of Grand Theft Auto here.
Maybe.
Just because we don't really it doesn't really occupy our mind space, and like GTA Online just seems like another impenetrable behemoth at this point for me personally. And we hate Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, we just despise it.
All of Giant Bomb.
Yeah, wipe our butt with it.
All of it. All of us, yeah. But I think GTA has enough name recognition in the cultural zeitgeist still. Like on Instagram recently, there's been like a filter, like a post thing of 6 games that define me. And like a bunch of friends are putting on Vice City or San Andreas. And I didn't realize how much those 2 games specifically, and to an extent GTA 3, has like permeated millennials across the board.
I mean, I think it was like it was a defining sort of gaming moment, even for me, someone who grew up as like such a Nintendo fanboy, going over to a friend's house right as I'm graduating high school, spending all day just smoking weed and playing Grand Theft Auto 3. Like that's what we did for like a year and a half. And for me, Grand Theft Auto 3 is like that definitive experience. And I do think about going back. And then I spent some time with Vice City and almost no time really with San Andreas, which is like, maybe I do want to go back and finally play San Andreas, the one that seems to have the most going on. And I know people really love it. But even that, at a certain point, it's like, I have more fun whenever I go to play like Chinatown Wars, the DS game and stuff like that. I'm like, I think Grand Theft Auto got more refined over time, and it is still very much a Rockstar game. But I think the sandbox of the open world is decently fun still, and I can have that fun in GTA 5, and it's not going to be that different if I were to go back to these other games. But I don't know. I think someone in chat said this is a medium-sized get. I think that's right. I think this is something that is going to draw some attention to Netflix games in a way that, like, Into the Breach, despite being an incredible game, couldn't. It just couldn't do that, right?
Yeah, but there's also Hades, which I feel like set the world on fire.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yes, I think that's like that was their biggest get up until this for sure. And maybe in a way, Hades is still bigger. But Grand Theft Auto, that name is massive. I mean, it is up there with Mickey Mouse in a lot of ways in terms of brand recognition. So,
definitely, yeah. Is this? I've never bothered to check this, but the Netflix gaming, is that if you have a Netflix subscription anywhere, so it's not region locked or anything?
I mean, God, good point. I don't know. Maybe Netflix. I want to say, and this is just me guessing from what I'm basically kind of half remember. I want to say that Netflix gaming isn't globally available yet. Maybe it's only available in certain territories.
Sure.
But I have my Netflix subscription, and I go to play Netflix shows on my television. I don't see the games there, I don't think still. And then I go on my phone, and then there's the games tab, and that's where you can play these games because it's all mobile stuff so far. And yeah, I've played around with it a little bit. You liked Point B, right? You played Point B?
I played too much Point B.
You were the Point B boy. Yes,
I was the Point B boy. Yeah, it was a quick. It was a quick toilet game.
Yes, I think you're the one that told me about it, and I was like, I had a pretty good time playing that in the toilet as well. That's a top tier toilet game. Maybe that should be a category. Toilet game of the year. Yeah. Well, write that down, chat, so we remember. The other question I had about this: do you mind that the Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy Definitive Edition, is only available on mobile through Netflix?
I don't mind.
Yeah,
I personally don't mind.
I've had Netflix consistently for years, right? And I'm not in any danger of canceling it personally, but I get it. I get people who are frustrated by this.
Oh, totally. Yeah. The fact that you have to not only like downloading an app isn't that much of a hurdle to cross anymore, but having to pay for another subscription just to play GTA, the Trilogy Definitive Edition. I can see that being a hassle for people.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to play.google.com, and I'm gonna type in Grand Theft Auto. I just want to see what comes up because I know Grand Theft Auto has been available on mobile for years and years. Yeah, there's Grand Theft Auto San Andreas for $7, still available right now. Vice City is $5. 3 is $5. I guess these are the original versions, not the updated definitive ones. But a lot of people prefer those anyhow because those definitive updates were fucking busted. in terms of the way they looked when they launched. So,
the rain.
Yeah,
Was
the
it in
rain.
San Andreas?
Yeah, all of the AI upscaling on some of the characters that made them look like that one lady that resurfaced that painting and made it look all of Jesus, made them look all fuzzy. Yeah, the fuzzy Jesus versions of Grand Theft Auto are not preferential for a lot of people. All right, let's move along here. Remnant and Remnant 2 have made their way to Game Pass. This comes from Alex Hopley at Game Reactor. Game Pass usually likes to make a big song and dance when an important title lands on Game Pass, but for whatever reason, the addition of Remnant from the Ashes and its sequel, Remnant 2, have been added to the subscription service without any fanfare. Right now, you could check out the games on the front page of the Game Pass website. Unfortunately, you won't be able to pick up the Remnant 2 DLC, The Awakened King, as part of your Game Pass subscription, but the standard version of the game is available. This is a pretty big get. I think,
yeah.
In another year, Remnant 2 is one I would have spent a lot more time with, and I kind of regret not spending more time with it. It's one that I do want to go back and check in on and maybe play some more of. But it also seems like an ideal get for Game Pass. It's like it's right in its wheelhouse, right?
100%. I know that I've seen the Next Lander crew play a lot of Remnant 2 and really dig into it. Yeah, it is another game that I've been curious on, but now I don't have to be because I can just download it with Game Pass.
Yep. They did actually. This story's from last night. They did this morning post a Newswire blog about this, where they talked about Remnant coming as well as Remnant 2, and then coming soon is Spirit of the North. SteamWorld Build is coming tomorrow because that's when that game launches. And I've been playing that, and big thumbs up from me. Clone Drone in the Danger Zone is coming December 5th. Rise of the Tomb Raider coming December 5th. While the Iron's Hot is coming December 5th. World War Z Aftermath December 5th. Goat Simulator 3, which I enjoyed. I wonder if that one
was fun.
I wonder if that one's ever has taken off the way Goat Simulator did with the kids. I have no idea. I bet this will help a lot. That's coming December 7th. Against the Storm December 8th. 10 Hearts December 12th. And Far Cry 6 is coming December 14th. So there you go.
I think Remnant and Remnant 2 hitting Game Pass is going to do wonders for the player base.
Agreed.
Because I feel like it injected a little bit more life into Grubb. Do you remember Outriders?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that one launched on Game Pass, and I think that was a huge help to that game. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's since left Game Pass though, but it probably boosted their player base an insane amount.
Yes, I think we probably would not have talked about Outriders in any real way had it not been for Game Pass. I think it would have been.
Matt Rory really liked Outriders.
Shout out to Matt Rory's Outriders then. Yeah, Remnant 2 is one I want to spend some more time with though. So we'll see if I can make that happen. Xbox is explaining why it doesn't reveal console sales anymore. This is from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. In 2015, Microsoft stopped announcing Xbox sales numbers, and now the company has shed more light on that decision. Xbox CFO Tim Stewart said at the Wells Fargo 2023 TMT Summit this week that Microsoft doesn't publicly disclose these figures because, as Microsoft sees it, a unit sales number alone doesn't provide the clearest picture of how the Xbox brand is performing overall. Basically, Stewart said, he says, at first it was like, what are you doing? You're the Xbox business and you're not giving us console sales numbers. That makes no sense. But it was really the first point of us saying, no, it's about content and services. Stewart said he measures the success of Xbox by the number of customers it has and how much money Xbox as a brand and Xbox is making these days, and not just console sales. I continue to think like, yeah, that's a little convenient, but at a certain point, you have to just start believing them, right? Where they are de-emphasizing the console sales because they are looking beyond that already, and they have been for a long time. And they repeat this point over and over and over again.
Yeah.
We had Phil Spencer on the couch and talked to him, and he was like, yeah, again, we are not thinking of things that way. We're not doing the console war stuff because, or not in any real way, because we're in third place and we don't intend to try to like really change that. We are looking at an alternative strategy. And I think, it's hard for me still. It's still hard to like wrap my mind around that, because again, I think the whole idea is get people in your network. And the best way to do that is with a console where they can only be in your network. So when they spend money, you get a cut of every little bit of that money. And by not selling consoles, that becomes a much more difficult task because Windows is open. And so people are installing Steam and then Steam gets a cut of everything on PC, and you're not getting that. So it's definitely not an apples to apples thing where it's like, well, if we have a user on PC versus a user on console, that's the same thing. It's not the same thing. So, but if the overall numbers are growing for them, then, I mean, it's hard to argue with the results at a certain point. And I think that's what they're trying to say. I don't know. Do you think that do you believe them finally? Because I think I'm getting there where I believe them that they really have fully de-emphasized console sales.
I think I believe them for a while now. And right. It hammered the point home when Phil and Matt Booty were on the GB at Night couch this year, plainly saying, and have continued to plainly say, that they are de-emphasizing the importance of not hawking consoles, but like making consoles the big part of their gaming strategy. Because at this point, like, I'm thinking, and what I want most from Xbox and Microsoft is give me a small portable device to play my Xbox Game Pass games. Give me perhaps an Xbox portal, maybe, or an easier ability to play it on something like the Steam Deck or whatever. I know that there's hoops to jump through where you can kind of get it running on a Steam Deck. I would just like something more reliable, and I guess I could explore an Asus Roger with that. But for the longest time now, I feel like, I fully believe that not that they don't care about the Xbox anymore, because that's maybe not even their bread and butter at this point, but like Xbox Game Pass and the brand in its entirety is more important than just the Xbox itself at this point, especially with like the different SKUs that they've been making for the Series S and X. Of like, this doesn't seem like a major thing, or it's like, all right, cool, we got these sick wraps for the box one now. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one that looks like a speaker. We got more memory in it.
I think they know that the Xbox console itself is still very important to accomplishing their brand goals of making people feel a strong affinity for Xbox, because that's the thing that, like, Phil Spencer talked about in that's email that not leaked, but was part of evidence that we got to read about, of him explaining the failures of all these third-party publishers like EA and Take-Two and all these other ones that didn't have this brand affinity, so that when they got into a world where anyone could make games and anyone could put out games and they had to compete with a million indie games, all these publishers were suddenly in a situation where it's like, hey, we're EA, we're putting out a game, don't you care? Or we're Ubisoft, we put out a game, don't you care? And 95% of people are like, no, we don't care that you're EA or that you're Ubisoft. That means nothing to us. So Xbox has been able to create that affinity, but that comes with expectations of like, we have this affinity for you because we have high expectations, and are you going to meet those expectations? And it's been tough for them to actually do that. So, yeah.
It's also so interesting to think about Xbox not really having a dog in the console wars anymore, because I feel like the Xbox diehards and PlayStation diehards as well are continuing to fight the console war when neither of those companies are interested in that at all anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're interested in, as far as they're happy to have people who feel that strongly about their brand, but I don't know if they're fully ready to reciprocate that love with exactly what these people are asking for, which is to go in there and destroy PlayStation, whatever that looks like. That's just not the game plan. That's not the strategy, and it won't be ever, at least under this leadership. And I don't think it makes a lot of sense for them to even try to make it the strategy. They also said during this interview, the CFO mentioned that they want to bring Game Pass to PlayStation and Nintendo devices. So they're saying that still. They want to bring it to every screen possible. He also talked about AI and how developers are going to use it. But he's the CFO. What does he know? Yeah. Total War dev Creative Assembly is returning to real-time strategy games. This comes from George Yang at GameSpot. It looks like Creative Assembly is going back to creating games in the real-time strategy genre after the cancellation of its multiplayer shooter. Jan, what is it called? Remember this one?
Total War. Totally War.
Hyenas. After the cancellation of Hyenas during a financial briefing, Sega president Haruki Satomi said, to put it simply, Creative Assembly was good at offline games in the RTS genre, but they took on the challenge of developing Hyenas at an online game in the FPS genre, and then basically said, we're not going to have them do that anymore. I don't want to like say what brand they're working with, but I have heard like Creative Assembly is going hard back into RTS, and then they will be working with a major IP in the years to come. And I'm pretty excited about it, but I'm kind of let things settle before and make sure that is 100% happening before I say what it is. But it does sound like they're going to stay in that bubble. And Jan, my question to you is, how are you feeling about developers having to sort of stick to their bubble? I think it makes sense. They're like, oh, do what you're good at. But at a certain point, developers do want to like stretch their legs. Jesus Christ. Developers want to spread their legs, Jan, right? Am I right or what?
Yeah, because they want 1 foot in what is old and 1 foot in is new territory.
That's right. They're just straddling that old line.
Exactly. That's what you meant to say, Grubb.
That's what
Don't
I was
worry.
saying. Exactly.
Yeah. That's why. That's what they mean when they say spread your legs, expand your thought. Yeah,
exactly. I'm pulling for Creative Assembly. As always, I like to point out they carried Sega on their back throughout the 2000s when Sega just did not know what to do, and it was all PC gaming all the time, making them money throughout that era. And that was, it was Total War and a handful of other things. And they deserve to be able to work on what they want to work to a certain extent, I think. Even like, it's a shame that Hyenas didn't get a chance, but at a certain point, you also think, I never thought that was a good idea, and I didn't care about that game. So at a certain point, not throwing good money after bad is probably the right choice. But hey, if they do return to their roots, they are still the best at what they do. And having a chance to go back to there and not have to be like shut down because of one bad project, at least that's a good thing. I'm hoping for good things for Creative Assembly.
Give them Sonic.
Yeah, give them Sonic. That'd be
give
cool.
them Sonic.
A tactics Sonic game.
You keep fumbling the bag with certain Sonic games. Let your actual number one studio do their thing.
I want to see it. Let's see here. I'm going to skip ahead to this next one, Jan. The new Ashless Pokemon anime is finally getting its English dub. This comes from Kenneth Shepard at Kotaku. Shout out to Ken. The Pokemon anime is entering a new era after sunsetting longtime protagonist Ash and Pikachu earlier this year. The newest series, Pokemon Horizons, follows heroes Liko and Roy and has been airing in Japan since April. After an excruciating wait, it's finally making its way to the West with an English dub. However, as has become a tradition in the States, the new season will be available only through Netflix. Jan, are you excited about a new Ashless Pokemon anime?
Sure. Completely fine with it. I think I'm glad that they finally did it and not got rid of Ash, but moved on from Ash. And I feel like he can only be 10 for so long. The people that met Ash when they were young are now in their 30s and also ready to move on to other things, but maybe pass the torch. I personally would have enjoyed if they took some of the other side companions and maybe did like a flash forward type of deal when they're a little bit older. I was very attached to, gosh, I forget what season. I think it's XY and then XYZ, where Bonnie was like a younger character on the show and wasn't of age yet to be a Pokemon trainer. I would have been a big fan if they chose to fast forward a couple of years. But hey, this show, Pokemon Horizons, has Captain Pikachu, y'all. And this is just a Pikachu with a captain's hat. So that makes him more official. I think they're fine giving jobs to Pokemon as long as they're just Pikachus. Detectives, captains.
Pikachu can do whatever job.
Yeah.
Pikachu's probably president in that universe, right?
100%.
I'm almost done, kiddo. I'll help you in a second. Don't worry. We're finishing up right now.
The gimmick is saying, I don't intend to vote for Pikachu if he chooses to run. I don't like his platform.
I do find him to be electrifying, though. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm so sorry. Nintendo Live 2024 is going to be held in Tokyo. The showcase will run from January 20th to the 21st in the Tokyo Big Sight Convention Center. This is interesting. They're already doing another Nintendo Live, but I think it's a pretty cool idea. I wonder if it's going to be like, there will be a Nintendo Live in the Americas in like around the end of the year, around PAX time, and then they'll do one in Japan earlier in the year and kind of bounce back and forth and do that. Because we speculated the one in Washington was like, they have all this stuff sitting in a warehouse. They could just bring it out and do their own thing pretty easily. They probably have the equivalent in Japan. so they could kind of just like do both without like incurring a lot of costs. So this makes sense. I think it's a very cool thing that they're taking this on, and it makes me believe that one day we might get a Space World again, which was their like own E3 from the 90s that I always wanted to go to before I was in the industry.
Yeah, I'm curious if we'll see any major Nintendo presence at all at PAX East, or are they going to really just sequester it to PAX West specifically because of their Nintendo of America office being there and everything.
Nintendo, I feel like Nintendo has had booths at PAX East before.
Like to occupy like a whole floor of the convention.
They probably won't have a Nintendo Live. So Nintendo Live, people are asking, what's Nintendo Live? That's the thing that we went to in around PAX, like Nintendo's own fan event where they had Mario music playing and a concert series, and then they showed off all their games, whether they were coming out still or had been recently released earlier this year. So yeah, a Nintendo Con, basically. And it's not like a full BlizzCon equivalent, but a mini version of that focused on Nintendo. And we all had a really good time at it. It was a very pleasant experience, right?
Very, very pleasant experience. We ran into Doug Bowser.
Yes, we did. Took a picture of us and then threw us back in jail.
It threw us immediately back in jail. But that's also the first time we played Super Mario Wonder.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and it was great. It was we were able to. I got in line, played it again. They had a 4-hour long line for the merch store. It was cool. And I think it was a good experience. I was like, I hope they keep doing this. So this is a sign that they're going to keep doing this, and I think that's great.
Goomba Dumper,
as the people say. All right, I have the poll here somewhere. I know, kiddo. I'm almost done. Just hang on there. All right, from yesterday. Let's bring this up. Have you played Dragon's Dogma before? Yes, a little bit. 52% said yes. 48% said no. And that's 2.7 thousand votes, Jan.
Wow.
So that's way more than I was expecting. All right. Yes. I mean, listen, 48% people are still ready. Like, hey, what is this Dragon's Dogma 2 all about? That's great. But I think this bodes well that the Dragon's Dogma series has continued to attract players over the years. And that's a pretty good result for that game, I think. I don't know. You said you haven't played it, right, Jan?
I have not. I wouldn't even say I'm Dragon's Dogma curious at all, but I appreciate how fervent the fan base is for the game. Not my cup of tea, could potentially be, but it's like, all right, cool. You guys have fun.
Yep, I am. I've always been more curious in it than the time I've actually spent put into it. But I don't know. I think I started up and I'm like, people talk about this game, all this stuff happening, and it just takes a bit long for me to get into it. And I'm like, I don't really know what's going on, and then I lose interest. So I want to keep trying. I want to give it one more try before Dragon's Dogma 2 comes out, but I will definitely be there for Dragon's Dogma 2.
Grubb, have you ever checked the comment section for any of these polls on YouTube?
Let's do it right now. I'm gonna live dangerously. Let's see here. Masterworks, all you can't go wrong. It's for okay, yep. Playing the prologue counts. No, yeah. What normally happens in here?
I've never checked, and that's why I'm curious. It's like
I've checked a few times. Definitely, people sometimes will tag me, so I definitely. And then I'm like, oh yeah, there's a comment section. I'll go there and check it out. And Drizzleton says, Jeff, load this puppy up on the Steam Deck with the 60 frames per second patch and into free mod and the title theme. And you'll understand. Okay, I'm gonna do exactly what Drizzleton is suggesting here because he's got the Rizzleton.
All right, yeah. Hey, if you got the Rizzleton, let's go, buddy.
Living Garage Truck says they played it 2.5 times. Yeah. Ray's Raven says yes, and I don't understand all the hype for it. So yeah, there's all kinds out there. All kinds.
There you go.
All right, we got a new poll that we'll put up that we'll discuss on. Fuck. I honestly have no idea.
Maybe December 11th.
Yeah, it's going to be a minute, everybody. So, okay.
If that. Because I'm going to say, Grubb, that we should maybe take Monday, December 11th off.
Yeah, because we're going to be all getting home after a long week of a lot of work. So we'll figure it out. But Game Mess Mornings listeners, thank you for sticking with us all year so far. It's been great. We are going into the Game of the Year stuff, and that's going to be taking up most of our time. Starting tomorrow, where there will be no Game Mess Mornings because we're doing day one deliberations with a bunch of categories. But then next week, we're in LA and we're doing a lot of stuff related to Game of the Year. We're doing the real Game of the Year. We got GB at Night next week on Wednesday, December 6th, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss that. Or is it 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. So don't miss out on that. That's going to be great. So we're going to be busy with other stuff, but Game Mess Mornings will be back at some point in December. We'll definitely do a hot week of episodes before get into the holidays, but we'll see.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll talk about this topic at some point. But in the meantime, Jan, what do we have going on?
What we got going on today is probably the last episode of Voicemail Dump Truck for at least a week and a half.
Yep.
As well. So dumpers call in and all that jazz. We'll field all those calls. But tomorrow, Grubb, starts the 5th actual season of the year. Forget spring, summer, fall, winter. It's Game of the Year season, baby.
It's Game of the Year season. We did it.
Day one starts tomorrow, and we're kicking off talking about 7 categories. Those people involved in the discussions, the deliberations are you, Jeff Backlash, Dan Reichert, Timur Hussein, Lucy James, myself, and with Mike Minotti.
7 topics, 7 people, 7 hours.
Who would have thought 7? Maybe 7 hours. Starting at 9 a.m. Pacific tomorrow, we'll be live on Twitch. All of these, don't worry, will be archived on the Giant Bombcast feed. And then, Grubb, on Tuesday, when a Bombcast episode would normally air or be recorded, we will publish day 2 of our Game of the Year deliberations, talking about 7 more categories.
And we're going to be traveling, so that will be a recorded episode, everybody.
Yeah. And we'll have to pre-record that.
Should we do a YouTube premiere of that?
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a fantastic idea. And then, Grubb, as you mentioned, on Wednesday will be Giant Bomb at night, but Thursday morning, somehow we will all wake up from the fever dream that was GB at night and get up to record day 3, record and stream day 3 of Game of the Year deliberations. That will be live as well, where we will whittle to the top 20 games of the year. God, yeah. And then, Grubb, the grand finale in person at the Terragram Ballroom, December 9th, 12 noon start time. This will be live in person, and tickets are still available if you are in the SoCal area or you want to travel to the Southern California area. Only a baby's handful of tickets left, I've been told.
It really is. Yeah, one baby's handful of tickets now. Okay, and then that's the real Game of the Year awards. So the fake Game of the Year awards happen on Thursday, and we'll talk over those.
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot because they're not the real game awards.
It doesn't matter. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll probably be me, you, Dan. We'll see if Mike's available. But we'll be in the studio. We'll kind of be hanging out, talking over that. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. The fun part is we won't be at the main studio that GB at night will be taking place. We've sequestered a room to squat in.
A laundry room. And a random hotel over by Disney or by Universal, excuse me. Yeah, it'll be perfect.
It's the only way to do it.
Jan, I think I've laid it out for everybody. Basically, check out our Twitter. We'll post stuff. We'll try to get the schedule up on the website, stuff like that. I don't know. But we'll give you updates as things are happening as well. So follow us. Keep yourselves posted. Jan, thank you so much for spending today talking with me about video games, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Every Thursday, I'm going to go spread my legs over some voicemails.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for listening. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, whenever that may be, have a good one. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye. Oh.